You ever try to learn a new, really complex piece of software for work? It can honestly feel like you've been dropped in the middle of a huge city with no map and no idea where to go. That's pretty much what it's like tackling something as massive as SAP. So today, we're going to hand you that map, specifically a map for taming the SAP Material Requirements Planning, or MRP learning curve. Does this feel familiar? If you've ever tried to teach yourself ASAP, you've almost certainly had this moment. You type something like SAP PP MRP tutorial into Google, and bam! You're hit with a giant wall of information. It's a totally normal feeling, but it's also where a lot of people just get stuck, right at the very beginning. And what you're feeling is this. It's just straight up information overload. You find tons of videos, guides, forum posts, and they all claim to be the one thing you need. But none of them are connected, there's no logical order, and you're just left thinking, okay, where on earth do I even start? But don't worry, we are here to cut a clear path right through that jungle. First, we'll talk about the SAP learning problem itself. Then, we'll introduce a curated video guide that is the solution. And from there, we'll walk through its roadmap, starting with the absolute basics, then mastering the actual MRP run, and finally exploring some advanced topics for those of you who really want to become experts. So let's really break down the problem here. When you get right down to it, trying to learn SAP on your own feels less like taking a course and more like trying to find your way out of a maze blindfolded. And this is exactly what that feels like, right? You've got all these scattered tutorials that don't build on each other. There's no clear place to begin. Do you start with theory, configuration? And without a logical path, maybe you're even getting conflicting advice from different videos. It makes it pretty much impossible to feel like you're making any real progress. So, what's the answer? Well, it's definitely not just more information. The answer is a curated video guide. And this isn't just another boring list of links. Think of this as your roadmap, your personal tour guide that's going to lead you through that maze, step by step. The solution we're talking about is this simple, paste-ready video list. And, its real beauty is just how practical it is. You literally just copy a list of video links, you paste it into your favorite digital notebook, and boom, you've instantly created your own structured curriculum. This is where the power of curation really shines. We're not talking about hundreds of videos you have to sort through. It's just 10 carefully chosen resources, a mix of individual videos and playlists that are designed to take you from a total beginner to someone who really knows their stuff in a super focused way. Okay, so let's look at how this path is actually put together. Every solid building needs a strong foundation, right? Well, this learning path is no different. The very first phase is all about building that core foundational knowledge. So the list starts you off with the absolute essentials. You get videos that give you a really good, high-level intro to what MRP even is and why it's so important in SAP. Then you move into the core concepts, and the list even points you to a whole playlist that's just focused on these fundamentals. This is where you learn the language, the lingo, the logic. I know, it's so tempting to just jump ahead to the cool stuff. But trust me on this, mastering these fundamentals first is absolutely crucial. Everything that comes later, especially the hands-on practical stuff, is built directly on top of what you learned right here. All right, once that foundation is solid, it's time to roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty. This next phase of the guide is all about taking that theory and putting it into practice. And here, the videos on the list get super practical. It points you to resources that actually walk you through a live MRP run, step by step. You'll learn how to read and understand the results, like the MRP lists, and on top of that, there are whole playlists just dedicated to the execution process, so you can see it in action over and over again. So you've learned the theory, you've mastered the execution, now what? Well, for anyone who's ready to go even deeper and become a true expert, the final part of the guide is all about advanced topics. This is where you really get to look under the hood. The list includes resources that explain the technical logic that's happening behind the scenes during an MRP run. You'll find videos that show you how MRP outputs, like a purchase requisition, actually get created. And there are even more deep dive playlists to really dig into all the nuances. This is how you go from just using the tool to truly understanding it. So how do you put this all into action? It's a beautifully simple 4-step process. 1, copy the curated list. 2, paste it into your favorite digital notebook. 3, follow the structured path we just went over. And 4, you're on the fast track to actually mastering SAPP MRP. It's that easy. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? This whole approach isn't about finding more information. It's about organizing the best information. It really does transform the chaos of trying to teach yourself into a clear, actionable, and paste-ready learning path. So often, the biggest thing stopping us from learning a new skill is just not knowing where to begin. Well, that excuse is officially gone. With a guide like this, you have the map. You have the step-by-step directions. Your learning journey can literally start right now. And that kind of brings us to a final thought. This whole method of finding a curated, structured path through a giant sea of information, it doesn't just work for SAP. It's an amazing template for learning pretty much anything complex. So after you've conquered MRP, it's worth asking yourself, what complex skill are you going to master next?